Another feature of the Indian constitution is that, Indian constitution, it provides for a parliamentary system of government. Break down. Next feature, it provides for what? Parliamentary system of government. So before, when you read classification of state, republic, monarchy, democracy, etc., secular, I think capitalist and socialist and communist. Now the other way, if we can look at how government functions, means even in democratic countries they can have different mechanisms about how the government functions. So if you look at India, America and Britain. India is a democracy, America is a democracy, even Britain is a democratic form. And India is a democratic as well as a republic, because the head of the state is indirectly elected. America is also a republic where head of the state is directly elected, but is more or indirect only. That you will understand when we go through American. Then in Britain, you can say it is a monarchy where the head of the state is from the family. Then in India, the type of government system, what we call it, is parliamentary system. In America, it is presidential system. In Britain, it is also parliamentary system. One of the reason is that since Britain ruled India, so they had employed parliamentary system here. That is why constitutional makers continued with the parliamentary system. But here you need to first understand what is the difference between parliamentary system and presidential system. So one of the major key feature of, or major key difference between parliamentary and presidential, there are many differences, but one main how we identify the difference, in parliamentary system the legislative, the executive is responsible to the legislative, and the government it is accountable to the parliament. Parliament has certain powers about controlling the government. For example, they can bring no confidence motion. If the government loses majority in Lok Sabha, the government will have to resign. But America, the executive is not responsible to the legislative. Trump, ಅವನೇನು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಬೇಕಿಲ್ಲ, ಅವ್ನು ಸಪೋರ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರು ಅಷ್ಟೇ ನೋಡೋದು. he is guaranteed 4 years term. Only one grounds on which he can be removed if there is any violation of the constitution. But India ಕೇಸಲ್ಲಿ ಆ ಥರ ನರೇಂದ್ರ ಮೋದಿಗೆ ಆ ಥರ ಇಲ್ಲ. The government can collapse any time if he loses the majority. Okay, it depends upon, as long as you have the majority in Lok Sabha. So, but there are other ways also how they can budget. So government can take out money out of the fund, that is CFI, only after they get approval from the parliament. Question hour, they can ask questions to the ministers. Okay, but in America, the executive is not accountable to the legislative. So in parliamentary system, you have a more responsible government. In the presidential system, you have more stable government. They'll have to resign. Simple, budget is not passed, you'll have to resign. Why? Because you have majority in Lok Sabha, right? So budget will have to pass because Lok Sabha will vote on the budget. But that is not the case in America. This is one major difference. There are other differences. In parliamentary system, you have two heads. Okay, president is the head of the state. That is the nominal head. Okay, whereas PM is the head of the government, is the real head. President we call as de jure, Prime Minister we call as de facto. De facto basically means he is the real head. But in presidential system, you have only single head. That is what president is both the head of the government and the head of the state. Okay, they don't have something called as prime minister. The other difference is that in a parliamentary system, we also call it as government. Okay, before that, in parliamentary system, we say there is dual membership. What is dual membership? For you to be part of executive means government, that is ministers. First, you have to be an MP. Okay, there is a rule that you can become a minister without being, but within 6 months also you have to be an MP. So you have to be an MP, be a minister. That is dual membership. Like Amit Shah is also part of the executive, is also part of what? Legislative, because he is an MP, Lok Sabha MP. But in America it is not like that. It is single membership. Means those who are part of the legislative, they can't be part of the executive. Those who are part of the executive, they can't be part of the legislative. That is not the case in parliamentary system. Then the other thing is that in parliamentary system, we say it is the government by amateurs. Amateurs andre, they are not experts. So why they are not experts? Because when cabinet is formed or when ministers are appointed by the PM, PM cannot appoint anybody he wants as the minister. That fellow should be an MP. So what will happen? The PM will have to appoint somebody from who have been elected.